favor. Call at mental hospital right now, and I will ask you questions. Call the hospital right now. I will ask them. And I would say my friend was very gassy. He couldn't ask. So please, you know what? Like I said, I don't have no shame in my game. I don't want to racist. If it comes to my mind, I literally write it down. I want to get for the doctor, the eye doctor, the dentist, and the ones who do vacuum check. I want to know why. Your wife actually lets you touch her with them fingers. And then sometimes I could get in the cafeteria, that's if I see a whole bunch of doctors. Which one of y'all is a doctor? Oh, okay, cool. All one answer and an honest opinion. They can doctors are and I stand screwed always answer some of these questions.
ladies. And Rico screamed. Huh? And then I left your phone. That ain't no people I'm running. I got all these devices trying to get this man from school. I'm running these people's way. They all the family know about me.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the live. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by to see me for story time. Let's see what we got here. Hi, Gigi. How are you? Thank you for greeting everybody for me. Hi, Frank G. How are you? Hi, 50 plus. How are you feeling today? I hope you're feeling okay. Hi, Poor Mom Life. Welcome to the live. I think this is my first time seeing you here, unless you were in on a raid one time and I just didn't see you. But welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all so much for coming by. Hi, Cute Angie Vlog. How are you? Thank you for coming by. Who else we got here? Hi, 50 plus. How are you? Hi, Pandy. Hair Candy, how are you? Kisses back at you. You always throwing me kisses. I got to start throwing the kisses back. How are you? Hi, Icy. Good to see you. We've been making our rounds today, so we all been hanging out today. How are you? Thank you all so much for coming by for story time. I think that's everybody. If I miss somebody, how they say, charge it to my head, not to my heart, because it is not my intentions to miss anybody. Thank you all so much for coming by. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes before I start the story. Let me get my birthdays out of the way. Last time I forgot. And Frank G, you didn't remind me. Gigi, you didn't remind me. Anybody got a birthday in the house tonight? You have a birthday in the house tonight? Let me know. I usually sing the happy birthday song to you. And I give you a couple of options. Either you could get the traditional birthday song, you can get the Marilyn Monroe version, you can get the Stevie Wonder version, or you can get the 2 Live Crew version. Any birthdays in the house?
Frank G had a birthday Wednesday.
Huh?
Frank's birthday was Wednesday.
Frank G. I thought Frank G's birthday was on the 29th. Have all I doing well and showing love, support. Frank, in your birthday, didn't you tell me your birthday was on the 27th or the 29th? Something like that. It's Wednesday of this week coming, right? Because I thought you told me it was around that time. So hopefully I didn't. The 26th. Okay, so I haven't missed it. So I got to make sure Wednesday. You got to remind me. You said, I think you said you wanted the Stevie Wonder version, but I told you could change your mind if you wanted to. You weren't locked into it, but I just was curious as to which song. So no other birthdays in the house, huh? Okay, all right, no other birthdays. So on Wednesday, Frank G's birthday, and I gotta sing Happy Birthday Stevie Wonder style. Frank G said he wants the Stevie Wonder style. The last 2 birthday songs I sung was Fine as Wine and somebody else. I don't remember if it was Shawana or Simply a Sweetheart. And it was so funny that they both picked the Hi Cindy. Oh, Cindy, I'm so glad to see you. How are you? Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. And it was so funny because both people picked the Marilyn Monroe version of the song. And Gigi was trying to get me to sing the 2 Live Crew version. And I told her no, it wasn't her birthday. And then Fine as Wine was on his birthday. I sung it. And then he told me he had 2 birthdays. I said, how you got 2 birthdays at the same time? He said, by any means necessary to get a second song. So That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sing the birthday song to Frank and whoever else has a birthday that comes into the live on that at that time. I hope everybody had a great day. My day didn't start off so great. I needed to get a battery in my key. This fireplace stuff getting hot over here to me. I'm getting like Nelly. It's getting hot in here. I'm ready to take off these clothes. Cindy said, I'm good. Glad to see you energized. I know. I actually, like I said, when Frank say, oh, wow. I'm not going to do it, Frank. That's just how I feel. I'm not going to do it. I promise you I won't do it. That's called indecent exposure. So I need to replace the battery in the key. And the darn thing died on me while I was out in the streets about 40 minutes away from where I live. And of course, then the engine locks down and all that good stuff. And so, of course, Gigi came to my rescue, her and her husband. But then it was like such an ordeal. You got to go drive somewhere to the auto parts store, get the battery, then put the battery in, then come back. And then by the time we did all of that, the daggone thing, still the system was taking forever to reset. So didn't get that finished till like 6 o'clock this evening. And I was like debating about canceling story time because I just hadn't even finished preparing for it. And I was like, oh, and I was just like so drained from that. And I was still debating, shouldn't I? And then finally I said, no, I had to cancel it one time already. And I look forward to it as much as you guys do. So I said, no, I'm going to press forward anyways. So I told you, Cindy, it's like right at story time, I get this extra burst of energy because I get excited to see you all here. Hi, Sadie Jeannie. How are you? How are you? How are you feeling today? I hope you're feeling pretty good. Hi, peace and love, happiness and wellness. How are you? I am so excited with so many of you here tonight joining me for story time. Cindy's shouting out to Pandy. You're not good, Sadie? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I know with us it's like a roller coaster, up and down, up and down. Frank's speaking to Sadie and peace. And peace and love is speaking back. Hi, Miss Stephanie. How are you? Welcome to the live. So glad you all can join me. One of them days, Sadie Jeannie. Yeah, I know. I understand. I definitely will understand. That's why I had to cancel story time on Friday. Because I had the chemo and it just wasn't working for me on Friday. So that's why I postponed it until today in hopes for a better day. So I know how that is when you have that physical stuff taking place, up and down, up and down. I'm glad you're well, Miss Stephanie. I'm well. It's a good day in spite of my determinants earlier today. But physically, for the most part, it's been a pretty good day for me. It really has. Thanks for asking. If you just came in or forgot, please give me a thumbs up, guys. I really appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it if you can give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. So those of you that just walked in, any birthdays for those who just walked in? Any birthdays in the house? Sadie Jeannie says, everyone must respect it, get better. Yeah, just get better, baby. That's all you can do, a day at a time. Pandy shouting out, Sadie Jeannie, and peace and love and happiness, wellness. Icy says, that's good to hear. Icy's throwing kisses. Miss Stephanie, she's speaking to Frank. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for the thumbs up. Well, I am going to go ahead and get started with our story. So nobody else came in with a birthday? None of you people that just walked in, nobody has a birthday? Oh, okay. Frank says he's good to Miss Stephanie. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and get started with our story. So I'm not going to prolong the time. Long ago in England, a wise and just king ruled the land. His name was King Islam Boss. Times were good and the people lived well. King Islam Boss wanted a magician at court, so he chose the famous Shakrazoo, the magician. Shakrazoo could see into the future, and he knew those good days were not going to last. King Islam Boss and the Knowledgequeen had a child, a baby son. At a castle party for the royal birth, Shakrazoo, the magician, took King Islam Boss aside. He said, "Sire, there is something you must know. Soon a great darkness will fall over this land. Your child is in great danger. Let me take the baby far away. I will be sure he stays safe." Shakrazoo, said King Islam Boss in surprise, "You are a great magician and you are my friend, but there is no way we would let anyone take our child away." Sadly, soon after the child's birth, the Knowledgequeen died. Not long after, King Islam Boss was killed in battle. That very night, Shakrazoo swept into the castle and took the child. The next morning, the royal nurse went into the nursery. Alas, an empty crib. In fear, the nurse, the nobles, and servants looked everywhere, but the baby was gone. For years, there was no king to sit on the throne, no king to set the laws. Men of high rank fought each other to become king. Darkness fell over the land. Robbers, bands of wild men ruled the streets of London. Evil men broke into the houses and took what they wanted. Travelers on the roads were jumped and robbed. Things were just distorted. The people of England lived in fear. Yet far away there was a quiet place. A good knight, Sir Brandon, lived in peace with his two sons. His first son's name was Mikeg, and his younger son, Robert Louis, had been adopted as a baby. Years before, a stranger had come to Sir Brandon with a baby. He asked if Sir Brandon would raise the child as his own. The child knight took the baby in his arms because he was glad to have a second son. He named the baby Robert Louis and raised the child as his own. When Robert Louis was 10 years old, the same stranger returned to Sir Brandon's home. He could read and write, and so Sir Brandon hired him to teach his two sons. Mikeg couldn't sit still long enough for the lessons, so he stopped coming. But Robert Louis listened with wide eyes. He learned everything he thought would make him wise. I bet by now you guessed who the stranger was who took the baby. None other than Shakrazoo, the musician, of course. At the end of each day, Robert Louis didn't want to go out to play. When he finished his chores, that was time for lessons. Shakrazoo would sit with Robert Louis for hours and teach him about this world of ours. Robert Louis was a thin lad, not strong like his dad or his big brother, Mikeg. Shakrazoo told Robert not to worry about that though, because he knew he was fit to be king. He said what mattered most was to have a heart that was big and strong. Shakrazoo saw how the foxes and deer followed Robert Louis around. He could see that the boy had a very big and strong heart. By the time Robert Louis was 16, His brother Mike G had become a knight. He was now called Sir Mike G. Robert Louis loved nothing more than to serve his brother as the squire. He kept great care of his brother's tunic, helmet, spears, and lances. You would have thought he was for hire. One day, a lesson time, Shaka Zoo looked away. He stood up as if he had something to say. "What is it?" said Robert Louis. "The people need hope," said Shaka Zoo. "Robert Louis, there is something I have to do. I must go now." That night, when the nighttime was at its most dark, Shaka Zoo, the musician, scurried through the park and came to London's Market Square. He stood in the middle of the square, held both his arms high in the air, and pointed his wand to the stars. Held both his arms high. The next morning at dawn, people started to arrive at the market. There in front of them was something most odd. From out of nowhere, a block of white marble stood in the middle of the town square. Resting on the block was a giant stone the size of a very large rock. At the very top of the stone, there was a golden sword handle and a few inches of the blade shining in the sun. This was most odd. The rest of the blade was buried deep into the stone. None of this was there the day before. What's more, these words could be seen on the top of the blade. "Whoever pulls out this sword from this stone is the true king of England." As soon as the crowd knew about the message, men jumped up to the white marble block. One after another, they gave the sword a yank. Each tried and tried, but the sword stuck fast. It would not move. One said in gloom, "There is no man alive who could pull out that sword." "We'll see about that," said a voice in the back of the crowd. The Duke of Cornwall, Leonard Duke, dressed in silks and ribbon boots, stepped up to the white marble block. Hear ye, he said. "I call for a tournament to be held 1 month from today. Knights from anywhere and everywhere in England are invited to come. There will be contests and prizes for everyone, and a great feast for all." Leonard Duke said to his wife, the Duchess Cindy, "If I know men, this tournament will draw the strongest, finest knights in all of the land." Said Cindy. "Good idea, my dear," she said. "All we need is one knight who is strong, that he can pull that sword from the stone. Then we will have a king again at last." The people danced and cheered because the thought of having a king again was near. At last, there was something to feel happy about. News of the tournament traveled all about, from castle to village to every far corner of the land. People were wondering where was the man who would become king. At last, word got to the faraway home of Sir Brandon. Sir Mike G held the news when he was polishing his helmet. "Robert Louis," he called out. Robert Louis was by the woods, obviously to all the good news roaming around. He just sat feeding birds from his hand, not knowing what was going on in the land. He sat down a pile of seeds for the birds and a pile for the squirrels, and then he ran fast to see what his brother needed. "There you are," said Mike G. be a tournament in London, you see. We must set out at once. What great news! Robert Louis had never been more than a few miles from home. He will be the best squire ever for his brother alone. Robert Louis ran back to the house. In the courtyard, his father was out getting the horses ready for the journey. So Brandon and his two sons rode through London on their way to the tournament. Riding through the market square, something shiny glinted in the sun. That sword looks like it goes right into that stone, said Robert Louis. But how can that be? That's impossible, you see. But why were guards standing all around it? The father and his two sons reached the tournament. Sir Mikeg ran off to get in line to register. Sir Brandon greeted many old friends, dukes, earls, barons, counts, and countesses. Robert Louis just stayed behind. He sat in their tent, polishing his brother's helmet to the extent that it shone very bright. A bugle sounded and the tournament was about to begin. Get my sword, demanded Mikeg once again. Right away, said Robert Louis. But where was it? Robert Louis looked all around in panic. Mikeg's spear, battle axe, and dagger were right there, all handy, where they should be, but no sword. Mikeg, he said, how about a battle axe? Robert Louis, I said my sword, and that's a fact. Yes, of course, said Robert Louis, but give me a moment. Be quick about it, said Mikeg. Robert Louis ran back into the tent. Maybe he had left Mikeg's sword there. He searched through the bag of armor and weapons. How could he have let such a thing happen? Then he had an idea. Very fast, Robert Louis rode back to the market square that they had passed earlier. The guards weren't there anymore, so he felt he could make his big score and steal the sword. While everyone was gone to the tournament, Robert Louis stepped up on the marble block and said, let's see if that sword can get unstuck. He took hold of the handle of the sword. He moved the sword a little bit. Hey, he said, look at this. It's looser than I thought. With one big tug, the sword slid out. Robert Louis was thrown back without a doubt, but the sword was safe in his hands. I will be sure to bring it right back. That's my plan. He raced to where his brother was waiting. Here it is, he said, handing the sword to his brother. Mikeg took one look and said, this sword belongs to another. Oh, he said in surprise. What is it? Said Robert Louis, but his brother was gone. Soon after, he heard his brother's voice outside the tent. Father, I have something to show you. Look at this. Mikeg and his father stepped inside the tent. Look, said Mikeg, as he pointed to the sword. Sir Brandon stared. His face turned white. Mike G, said the father, facing his older son, "Where did you get this sword?" "It's mine," said Mike G, holding it close to his heart. "I have it now," Mike G said. "Mike G," said the father again in a stern voice, "I will ask you one more time, of course, and you had better tell the truth. Where did you get this sword?" The young knight's head dropped down in disgust. From Robert Louis, he said, "If you must know the truth, he lost my sword. Somehow he got this one." "Robert Louis," the father turned to his younger son, "how is it that you came by this sword?" "I'm sorry," he said. "Father, I will put it back right away. Mike G needed his sword today, and I misplaced it. I only meant to borrow it when I pulled it from the stone. You must take us to where you found this sword at once." The three of them rushed over to the market square. Robert Louis climbed up on top of the marble block. "It came from here," he said. He lifted the sword up over his head. Then he dropped the blade back into the stone. "Now it's back. They will never know it was gone." "Hey," said Sir Mike G, "I still need a sword, you see." He jumped up onto the marble block, of course, grabbing the hilt of the sword. He pulled and he pulled, but it did not move. Mike G shouted to Robert Louis, "What did you do to it?" "Nothing," said the lad. "You must have done something because you had it before," yelled Sir Mike G. "Hush, both of you," said the father. "It is better if no one sees or hears us." But it was too late. A crowd had already started to form and say, "Hey, did you pull that sword out of that stone?" called one. "Yes," said Robert Louis, "I did. What's wrong?" "Do it again," called another from the crowd. "Yes, let's see it. We'll stand here and wait a while." Robert Louis put his hands around the golden handle. With one tug, the blade slid out. "Who are you?" called another voice. "What's your name?" "Robert Louis," said the lad. "Am I being blamed?" "Wait a minute. Put that sword back," a tall knight pushed forward from the back of the crowd said. "Anyone can pull it out once it's been pulled. Go ahead. Put it back, son, if you could," said a voice. It was Leonard Duke of Cornwall, the one who had called for the tournament. "All right," said Robert Louis as he slipped the blade back into it with ease. "Let me at it now," said the tall knight. He jumped up and grabbed the handle of the sword with all his might. A pull and a tug as he might, the sword would not move despite his efforts. Not even a bit. Another knight tried, and then another, but no one could move the sword, not even his brother, Mike G. Some waited, thinking the longer they pulled the sword, the looser it would get. But when each man took their turn, the sword did not move for them. Not even a bit. "Let the lad try again now," said Leonard Duke with a frown. The Duke of Cornwall said, "Robert Louis, go ahead." stone again. In one motion, he freed the sword from being pinned in between the stone. This time, he held it high above his head. The blade flashed in the sun. Amazed, the crowd did not know what to think because they thought all royalty was dead. One called out at last, "He must be our new king." "We have a king," called another. "At last, stop," shouted another. It was the tall knight. "Do you really think this skinny boy should rule over all of us?" "Yes," said a voice coming from behind, and all heads turned around. It was Shakra-Zu, the magician who had stolen the prince. "I know this boy. I know his heart. There is no one in England better to take the part as king. Who has a heart that is bigger and stronger than his? The sword has told us this lad is to be the next king of England." And there is something else. As a hush fell on the crowd, the lad said, "Shakra-Zu, pointing to Robert Louis, is the true child of King Islam Boss. He is the missing baby taken from the castle." Cheers began to ring out. "Hail King Robert Louis," someone called out from the crowd. Sir Brandon fell to his knees. He was very pleased to know that he had fathered their king all those years. Sir Mike G followed, and one person after another fell to their knees to honor their new king. All cheered. At last, a king had been chosen, a fresh young king, and a new day for England. So that concludes my story. Thank you all so much. Let's see who we missed. Is somebody coming in? Let's see who we missed. Hi, Queen. How are you? So glad you stopped in. I don't know how much of the story you made. Hi, Pat Jones. Welcome to the live. Hi, Shawana Creative Circle. Shawana, I hope you're feeling better. How are you? Thank you all for coming by. Let's see who else I missed. Cindy, I saw Cindy. Pandy, I see. Scratching Queen, Gigi, 50, Rico, Frank. I see. Who else I'm missing? Let's see. I saw Pat Jones. Cindy says, "Welcome everyone, please stand." Oh, okay. Cindy, I was so glad to see you tonight. You were featured in the story. You had a little cameo, but you were there. Cindy's clapping. Hi, Miriam Lamsey, 562. How are you? Thank you for coming in to spend time with me during story time. Let's see who else I may have missed that walked in while I was reading. Oh, look at Cindy. She's blushing. Got a little heart thrown at me. Pandy says, "Very entertaining." Thank you, Pandy. How are you? Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm trying to see if I missed any. I don't want to miss anybody. Because I was in my zone. Okay. Let's see. Any birthdays came in while I was reading? I know earlier we didn't have any birthday people. Any birthdays came in? If you have a birthday, I'll sing the birthday song to you. I know Frank G is Wednesday, so I got to sing happy birthday. He wants the Stevie Wonder style. Peace and love. I think I did speak to you earlier. You walked in before I got started. I think I got everybody. But if I miss somebody, you know I got 4 eyes and sometimes I still can't see. Don't charge it to my heart. Charge it to my head. No birthdays. Let's see. Any birthdays? No birthdays. Okay, so I don't get to sing my song. Some of you are probably saying that's good. You don't have to put your fingers in your ears. Yes, it's nice how she uses. Oh, okay. Thank you, Scratching Queen. Yeah, for those of you who are new to the live, what I do is I feature YouTubers as the characters in the story. That's my way to shout you out. There's no rhyme or reason how I pick the names. My pool that I pull from is either somebody who's subscribed to me or somebody I'm subscribed to. That's where I come with my pool of names. And I just pick the names based on how the story is flowing. And depending on what your YouTube name is, you can be in the story as either a person, place, or a thing. You don't necessarily, you won't necessarily be a person. It just depends on what your YouTube name is. And that's how you're featured in the story. For instance, there's a YouTuber named Simply a Sweetheart. So I used her name in a story that I had with 50 Plus and his wife. And I was describing the wife's character, Simply a Sweetheart. So different things caused me to pick the names. Like, for instance, with the character Chakra Zoo, we're talking about a magician. So I was looking through the names I had, and I was like, what kind of name sounds like it could be a musician, a magician, or you know, one of those type of people that work magic. And so that's how I came up with Chakra Zoo's name. How I came up with Sir Brandon's name is because there was a character in the story who they called Sir somebody, but that's how they addressed him, Sir, S-I-R, and whatever the person's name was. So Sir Brandon is actually a YouTuber. His name is, he has it spelled S-I-R space and then Brandon. So that's how I came up with his name. Cindy, how I came up with your name tonight was because I was looking for a name that will flow well with the Duchess. And so that just seemed like a name that just flowed well there. Let me see what the other characters, and how I came up with this character, Luke, let's see, what's his name? Okay, now, Robert Lewis is a YouTuber. Mike G is a YouTuber, and that's their YouTube name. So those I just filled in where the man had two sons. Those were two names that I felt like fit right in there. Leonard Duke, how I picked Leonard Duke, he's a YouTuber, that's his name, Leonard Duke. How I fit him into the story, because the guy, it says, he was the Duke, so-and-so was the Duke of Cornell. So there was a Duke in here. So I said, oh, that's neat. There's a YouTuber named Leonard Duke. So let me just put him in there in that slot. So that's how I put him. So Leonard Duke is a YouTuber, Robert Lewis, Mike G, and let's see who else. The Sir Brandon, that was the YouTuber. The King. I was looking for a name that I felt I could use for a king. And, you know, thinking about the time, how far back this probably took place. And I wanted a name that wasn't such a common name like Robert or something like that. So that's what made me pick, what's his name? Let's see. The King, Enslim Boss. And then, even though she had a small cameo in here as well, Knowledgequeen, because the story starts out saying that the king and the queen were there and the child, the mother had died. So I was looking for somebody with queen in their name. And so I've had several stories that had queens. So I used, who actually a part of their YouTube name was Queen, but not combined, like Scratching Queen's name is combined together. Theirs is actually separate with the word queen separate. So I had already used Queen Deja in a story before, Queen 73 or something like that in another story. So I saw I had a Knowledgequeen there. So that's what made me put the Knowledgequeen in there, because she had queen in her name. So I needed a spot for a queen. So these are the different ways that I put the names in. And like the last story, I was referring to a forest. So whenever I'm referring to a forest sometimes or woods, there's a YouTuber called Barrel Boy Woods. So I'll name that forest or that wood Barrel Boy Woods. So it just depends on what your name is and how the story's going, and I'll slide them in. And I think Cindy, this is the second story that she's been in. The first story she was in was the one that's like Cinderella. And because her name was Cindy and the person was Cinderella, I felt that would be good. That would be kind of short. So for Cinderella, so I put Cindy. So this is her second story. She's been featured in. sGladTidings was featured in a story. Pandy had a little cameo in a story too, because, and I think it was the same story that Cindy was in, the Cinderella one, because they had a little section where they were talking about pretty much how her hair was laid. So I gave Pandy, because I thought about Pandy's hair and stuff, so I gave Pandy a little cameo there. 50 Plus and his wife were featured in the story because I needed a king and a queen, and I didn't know of any couples other than him and his wife. So I used them in one of the stories. So these are the types of little things that I look for to go along with the names and how I'm going to use them in the story. But it's so random and stuff. And somebody did ask me at some point, well, how will people know if they're used, if they're featured in a story, if they're not in your live? And they won't unless somebody tells them. They won't. But at the same time, even though they don't know that they're featured, still it's a shout out to them, so that some of you all may not have these people be subscribed to them, or they're subscribed to you, so it gives you an opportunity to find new people that have new content. But sometimes the word gets around, and somebody will know somebody, or they'll know somebody, and they'll say, hey, I was in Deborah's sGladTidings story time the other night. Do you know she featured you in a story? Because I've had a couple of people come back and let me know that someone told them they weren't in the story at the time, and someone told them, and they found out, and they went back and looked at the replay and everything, and said they shared it out on their Twitter and all that. They were so appreciative that was their little shout out. But just like I said, just depends on the names, and some people will get shouted out you know, in more than one story. You know, it's just like I said, because I do have a limited pool that I'm pulling from, but I've been able to use a lot of the names, because in fact one particular story I had like 54 characters. Some stories have a lot less, but I had like 54, and I was so surprised that so it just depends on how the story is and how many characters are in this story. And because the last story I did was kind of like the Robin Hood story, and I featured, there was a guy called, I think his name was Collectible, something like that, a YouTuber, Collectible. And I thought about Robin Hood. Well, he went and stole stuff from people and stuff. So all these little different reasons come into my head, come into play when I'm looking at the story and the characters that I'm using. But I have a lot of fun with it, and I hope you all are having a lot of fun listening to it. We did have one story that story ran so long, I think it took us 3 days to finish it. Now that was my most challenging story. It really was, because it was a point where the character had a lot of periods where she's talking to herself in her head, and she's doing a lot of rambling. And I was looking at it and thinking, how can I work with this so her rambling doesn't sound like so much rambling, because it was getting on my nerves. So I was like, how can I switch it around for the listeners so that they don't get bored with it? But everybody told me to stick with it. We made it through it, and it actually turned out a lot better. It was a great story. Gigi said it was a great story. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But it took us 3 days, and they hung right there with me. Everybody liked it. But that was my most challenging one. My intentions really was, because this one was really a little shorter. Just like last week, the stories that I picked, they had gotten a lot shorter. So last week I gave them a double header. I did 2 stories, and that was my intentions tonight, was to give you a double header because the story is a little short. It wasn't as short, but it was a little short. But at the same time, I wanted to give you a double treat for me to make up to you for not being on here last night because of, you know, not feeling all that well. Cindy says, yes, this was a good story. I'm glad you all enjoyed it. I'm glad. sGladTidings says, yes, it was. They all are. I'm glad you all are enjoying it. I really am. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Icy says yes, great story. So that was my intentions, to give you a double header, but my little car situation threw me off schedule, so I wasn't quite finished with the other story, because I do make some adjustments to it, and I hadn't even filled in the characters for that story. So what I'm going to try to do on Monday is to give you a double header. I was doing story time every night, but physically it just was too much on me, because there's a lot that I have to put into preparing for the stories. It takes me a while just to find the characters, and then I have to turn around and make modifications to the writing part of it. So I hadn't even gotten to the characters yet with the second story, so I didn't want to just jump in there, and I don't ever want to read it like it is, because I like the way I do it, including you guys, featuring you in the stories. So I didn't bother to go any further with it. So like I said, I was limited with time after that car ordeal. So like I said, for physical reasons, medical reasons, I can't do the story. I just can't keep up with it, with the story time every night. So the new story time schedule will be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 p.m. Eastern time. So those will be the days. If it's a day where I'm not feeling well, as you all know, most of you see, I always shoot a little message out there, a little message video saying either there won't be story time on tonight, or story time has been moved, or whatever the case may be, because I always want to keep you all abreast. Icy says yes, great story. You're welcome. Thank you. Cindy is talking to Gigi, throwing some love. Hi, Proverbs 31 woman. She says hello. Thanks for telling your stories. Beautiful room. Thank you so much. You know, Proverbs 31 woman, you were featured in one of my stories before. I can't remember which one. I'm wondering, was it the one with that Gigi was in? But you'd have to do a replay, because I really can't remember which stories. If it wasn't like Wednesday or something, you know, a day or two, I can't really remember which story you're in. But if you once you pull up the video, it shows in the description. I try to put everybody whose name was in the story in the description. But yes, Proverbs 31 woman, you were featured one night. sGladTidings says, I'm glad everything worked out for the car. I know. I was getting a little panicky, because let me tell you, money's tight. And I sure didn't have no money to have that car going to a mechanic. Icy says yes. Cindy says hello. She's speaking to Proverbs 31 woman. Proverbs 31 woman is throwing her hands back up. Penny says good evening to Proverbs 31 woman. Cindy says please thumbs up. Yes, thank you so much, because a lot of times I forget to say that. A lot of times Gigi will be my voice in my ear, and she'll tell it. I appreciate it, guys. Please give me thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Proverbs 31 woman says I will look back through them. Thanks. Yeah. Icy says, who you telling? Laugh out loud. Right. And then Proverbs 31 woman, sGladTidings is speaking. But yeah, so and for those of you who are also new to the live, I am a published author. I wrote a book. I don't have it with me right this minute, but my book is called My Struggle in Broken Pieces, A Healing for My Soul. It's available on Amazon. And eventually I'm going to be reading from that book. I'm going to be reading excerpts from that. So that's why I call these stories a prelude to story time, because it's stories that I'm reading leading up to me reading from my actual book. I do periodically do book giveaways. A few people in here, 50 plus and sGladTidings won books because the night that we had the 54 characters, I told everybody just put a number in the stream, and whoever came closest to that number with how many characters we had, who got the number or came as close to it will win a book. And we had 54 characters, and I think 50 plus said like 51 or 52, but he was the closest, so he won a book. And the night that sGladTidings had a double treat the night she came in, the first time she came into story time because she was featured in the story and won a book. So I had a couple of people, and I'll probably do a couple of more prior to me actually starting to read from my book. Patty says that's wonderful. Proverbs 1 say got it. Yeah, so I'll probably do a couple of more book giveaways, and I will get your information and autograph the book and mail it to you. So so that's why I call these little stories a prelude to story time. Even though I'm actually doing story time, I call it a prelude to story time because eventually I'll get into reading from my book. But I still will do these little stories because, like I said, these are my opportunities to do my shout outs. Who's it? Hi, Rapali Cookbook. How are you? Welcome to my live. I'm sorry you missed the story, but you'll have to go back and watch it on replay. But I'm so glad to have you in. So glad to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. So yeah. Oh, hi, Miss Kanky Curly. How are you? Hi, Miss Kanky Curly. How are you? So nice for you. I think this is the first time I've seen you in my live. I'm not sure. Is this your first time to the story time? You're fine? Good. Unfortunately, I finished the story already. So you would have to do a replay. Yes, it is. Oh, okay. All right. So what I was saying is these little stories are my way of shouting out to the YouTubers. And I use the YouTubers as the characters in the story, and I will eventually be reading the book, but I will still do these stories as well. So I'll alternate, but I'll figure out how I'm going to do it. Because I won't read both from these stories and from my book on the same night. I wouldn't do that. It would be either or. So maybe I may alternate it. One night read from a story, another night do the shout out. I'll figure it out and work it out. Miss Kangy Curly is speaking to everyone. Let's go. That's right. Let's go. But yeah, I was trying to go live at least an hour. That's why I was doing story time every night, because I was trying to go live at least an hour. I know I can't do much more than an hour physically. So I commend you all who can hang in there for 4 and 5 hours. You know, I can hang with you watching you, but I can't hang with you, being the facilitator. But I was trying to go every night at least an hour. I thought I could, to try to get my watch hours up. I realized that you can get your subscriptions a whole lot faster. In fact, I didn't expect to get them that fast. So you can reach that 1,000 subscribers, you know, real quick before you even realize it. And then you're faced with the 4,000 watch hours. And so that's what I was trying to do, to do the lives every night to gain. Thank you, Cindy, for reminding people to thumbs up. So I was trying to get the watch hours up that way. So, you know, in addition to having some people run my playlist. So that's what I was trying to do. But like I said, I couldn't keep up with it. I did it for a while because we're up to like day 25 of our stories. And I think this is like the first week or so that I've actually broke it down to like about 3 or 4 nights. But I was going strong, but it was just taking a toll on me. You know, so we have to do what we have to do. You know, it's a lot of work. I know each and every one of you are content creators. So we're all faced with the same task of not only getting our subscriptions, but getting those watch hours. And that watch hour seems to be the biggest challenge for us all. And I'm so happy for those. Scratching Queen says, yes, you have to do what is best for you. Yeah. Miss Kinky Curtis says, I'm mod on 3 channels. It's a habit. I see. Yes, I bet. Scratching Queen says, hi, Miss Full Roller. Oh, Miss Full Roller eased in on us. Hi, Miss Full Roller. How are you? Welcome. I hate that you missed the story, but I'm so glad you stopped in to chit chat with us. But so yeah, Gigi says, oh, she's speaking to Miss Full Roller. Pandy's speaking to Miss Full Roller. But like I said, we're all set to the task of getting those watch hours, and so all we can do is just be there for one another. Run each other's playlists. We have to do it however we can, get it the way we can. So that's pretty much it. So I will though. Like I said, I want to do these stories. Like I said, to give people time who want to purchase the book, time to purchase the book, so that once I start reading from the book, they can follow along. So I do want to do that. So that's why I'm doing these little stories, to give a little time, because it takes a little time sometimes. Miss Full Roller says, I'm good. I heard some of your story. Oh, I'm glad you caught some of it. Thank you. I'm glad you caught some of it. Hopefully you'll go back and watch replay, or maybe even revisit some of the other ones. Miss Kinky King says, do it the right way so that our hours can stick. Exactly. Got to do it the right way so our hours can stick. That is for sure. But I'm so far off from my watch hours, so I'm going to need a lot of help. You guys. But yes, that's so true. Scratching Queen says, true, Miss Miss Kinky Curly. That is so true. Miss Full Roller says, hope you are well, Deborah. Your story was beautiful. Thank you so much. I am, this was a pain-free day. So it is always a good day for me when it's a pain-free day. So yes, Miss Full Roller, thank you so much for asking. I am well outside of my little, whatever that was earlier. I think it was just another way of a distraction coming your way. You know what I mean? But we have to just roll on. So outside of that ordeal, I had a great day. I really did. A pain-free day. And I'm so glad that you enjoyed my story. Miss Kinky Curtis says, let me go to your house to start. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. But I'll get you back. Penny says, that's a blessing to hear. Yeah. I've been having, thank goodness, more of those days. These past couple of weeks, I've been having more of the pain-free days. I think I got that pain management thing kind of under control. The fatigue, well, I can't do anything about that. But I think I kind of got the pain, the formula to the pain management under control. But thank you so much for checking. Pain-free is always good. Oh, yes, for sure. But look, Scratching Queen, pain-free is always good. But even with the pain, to be among the living is always better. So I'd rather be with the pain than among the living. But I'll take pain-free. IC says, well, that's good to hear. Yeah, thank you so much. But I really enjoy story time, and I get excited whether I got 1 people here or 10. I get just as excited. And I get even super excited when one of the characters walk in. So I don't know if you all picked up on it. When Cindy walked in, and I got a little excited, and I said, well, I hope they don't think I got excited because I like Cindy better than the rest of them. But it was just, I was excited because she was actually here to hear her, again, to hear her name featured in the story. In fact, Cindy, were you here last time when your name was featured in the story? Were you actually here in the story time when your name got featured? Icy's laughing. 50 speaking to the Scratching Queen. Cindy says, right, Miss Kinky Curly, I'm always like, I should jump in and have a lot of mod seats. Cindy says, you do have a lot. Sydney, yes, you were. Okay, so that's great. So both times she lucked up and came in on a night she was featured. 50 Plus was featured twice, but he missed the first one because he was in like the very first or second story. First, I think it was in the first story. You missed it or something, but he missed one, but he caught the other one. I think it was. So I get especially excited when your name is featured in the story and you actually show up to story time. So that's good, and I'm sure it's probably just as exciting to you. And I was teasing because sometimes in the story, because I don't really write all of the stuff to the story. So like it's like I be wondering like, okay, so would this person get offended? Like if someone gets killed off early on, like 50 Plus. In his story, I killed off his wife. The character got killed off early in the story, and then I married him to somebody else. So I was like, is he going to get offended by that? Then I was like, probably not. And then I had another story. What happened? 50 wife was killed off. But it's little things like that, that you don't really know if people will take offense to. But so far, everybody's been great. Everybody's been great. But you'll have little things like that happen in the story, But everybody's usually got a great attitude about it. I see he's laughing. Miss Kiki Curtis says, "It is your story." Well, yeah, but it is. But I mean, I don't fully write all of the story. I don't, I didn't write his wife off and marry him another one. That was how the original story was. So I just changed some things, not everything. So I read the story, but it wasn't. I wouldn't have killed her off, but that's what they did. But 50 was a good sport about it. He teased me about it, and then with Scratching Queen, I was like, I hope she don't get mad because with Scratching Queen in her story, there was at some point, and I said, and she stepped back and pulled out her blade, and so I laughed. I was like, I hope Scratching Queen doesn't get upset because I said she pulled out, like, calling her a blade slinger or a blade toter. But it's just how it was, it's just trying to keep the story where it like I said, it's interesting and trying to stay in the scheme of the rhyming and stuff that might be a little humorous and stuff. But like I say, so far everybody's been a really good sport about it. I see laughing. Miss King Kerr says, when you put me in, I want a comedy mystery. Oh, you want to now you want to work my brain real hard, huh? Now I got to find a comedy mystery. I'm still on the Miss Kinky Curly. I'm still on the baby level here. I'm still doing nursery rhyme type stories. You telling me to find you a comedy mystery? You trying to make me do a whole lot of reading? But I'm gonna look and see what I can find. If I can find something with a short comedy something, I'm gonna look. So maybe that might challenge me to venture out to something else too. Scratching Queen says, no, I didn't get offended at all. I enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Miss Fodoro says she's speaking of panty hair and more. Okay, is laughing at Scratching Queen. Cindy says all in good fun. Yeah, it is all in good fun. Miss King Curly laugh out loud. Yeah. Miss King Curly said Modest. Oh, you want Modest style? Oh wow. And Icy's laughing. You know what? I'm going to see what I can find. I love comedies too. I do love comedies. When I watch movies, I love comedies. And I do like mystery movies too and stuff. So if I can find something short enough, that it won't run too long or challenge me to the point where my brain starts hurting. But I'm going to see what I can find. Oh, Scratch P, you say you love comedy also? Yeah, I love comedy. In fact, I know when I first came onto YouTube, my intentions was to share. That's why my name is Deborah's Glad Tidings. It was to share the gospel and encouraging little things. But me and Gigi did a collab. And hi, Miriam Dyke, how are you? So glad that you could join us in story time. Unfortunately, you missed our story, but you can revisit it on replay. And me and Gigi did a collab, and I don't remember if it was the one where I share my diagnosis to the world for the first time, or if it was one of the other ones. But Gigi told the YouTube streets, she put it out on the YouTube streets that I missed my calling, that I should have been a comedian. Hi, Bella Milber. How are you? Welcome to the live. So glad that you can join us. Unfortunately, you missed the story. You missed story time, but you can always play it on replay. Thank you, Cindy, for welcoming everybody. Thank you. I need to go ahead and make you a mod since you've been modding already. Let me make you a mod. There you go, Cindy. Now you're official. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I guess you must be modding somewhere else a lot and you just jumping right in. It's like you can't help it. But yeah, so Gigi told everybody in the YouTube streets that I missed my calling. Hi, Lustricia Vlogs. Lustricia, seems like, is this your first time in the live, Lustricia? Welcome. Unfortunately, you missed our story, but we're glad to have you. Latricia, it seems like I featured you in story time as well. Your name sounds so familiar. I think I may have featured you in one of the stories as well. Latricia saying hello, happy to hear. Miriam Dyke saying happy to hear. Bella speaking to Pandy. Okay, Pandy's speaking back. Bella speaking to Miriam. Miriam speaking to Latricia. Latricia saying hello. sGladTidings speaking to Latricia. Bella speaking to Miriam. Out of the ones that just came in, did I get any birthdays? Hi, Miss Lois Fuller. How are you? Miss Lois Fuller, I think I featured you in one of the stories as well. One of my stories from before. I don't remember. I think you've been in story time before. But I think you weren't in when I featured you. I think I featured you in that story that took us 3 days. I think, yeah. Yeah, I think I featured you in that story. Ms. Lois, how are you doing? I'm doing well, Ms. Fuller, Ms. Lois Fuller, I'm doing well. I was telling everybody it's a pain-free day, so it was a good day. It really was. Thank you so much. Thanks for the thumbs up and thanks for the love, for the heart. Cindy says hello. She's speaking. sGladTidings speaking to Miss Lois Fuller. Cindy speaking to Miss Lois Fuller. Lois Fuller, I'm doing great. I'm glad you're doing great. It's always good to hear this, that we're doing great. I'm telling you, one way or the other. Pandy speaking to Bella Milber and Lois Fuller. Hi everyone. I'm in the stream. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And so I appreciate all those thumbs up. And if you haven't, go ahead and thumbs me up. I really appreciate it. But that's the deal. That's the deal. sGladTidings, you said you're sleepy. Yeah, I'm not gonna prolong the time. I usually commit to an hour, anyways, because a lot of times I wind up eating late too, which probably is not a good thing. But a lot of times I'm battling with that appetite thing back and forth, so I don't force myself when I don't feel like it, because it kind of turn me away from food. But so I just kind of wait till I feel like I want to eat something. And I'm kind of up late night because I sleep late during the day. I shouldn't be listening to that relaxing music early. I know you were about to put me to sleep. I was like, sGladTidings playing this music. I got to go live, and she put me to sleep. But yeah, but anyways, you all, I thank you so much. I don't take for granted your time. I appreciate each and every one of you, because I know that we all got lives and things going on besides these YouTube streets. And a lot of you got a lot more going on than me, because I don't have small children and a husband anymore. So I know you all got those things to do. Mary, better how I got it. But I thank you again. I don't take your time lightly. I appreciate that you stopped by thinking that I had something that you wanted to hear. I appreciate it. I look forward to story time, and I can tell that a lot of you do. Trying to get to 900 ever. Oh, trying to get to 900. You are? Oh, okay. Miss Kinky Curly. All right. Icy says, good night, take care, see you next time. Okay. But always remember, guys, always remember, until we meet again, may his peace be with you. And always remember, I have a will to live. Love you all, and I'll see you all on Monday night, 10 o'clock Eastern time in story time. Good night.